Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing? Welcome to Engineering Success. It's a beautiful day here today in New Orleans, Louisiana. I hope you guys are doing all right. I know I am doing all right, and I'm happy to be here today. And I hope you are as well. What's going on? What's going on? Lots of fun things going on in my life. We are again anticipating the birth of our child. So this will actually be, I think, the last episode of the podcast that I film from this room. The room that I'm in is our office slash Daniel's podcast studio, and it will soon become the home for our baby child, which we are very excited to welcome. We are due in June. So we'll see what happens whenever, not that I post very consistently or film episodes consistently already, but maybe that will become even more inconsistent. We will see. We will see. I'm going to try my best, I promise. But as you know, this is my favorite way to kind of just release and spend some time hanging out with myself and you guys. So I'll probably keep the podcast going. Let's do our shout outs. For $10 a month, you can get a shout out on the Engineering Success podcast at the beginning of every single episode and join John Ott. Thank you, John. You are the best. You are my favorite. I really appreciate you. You are one of the reasons why I know that I have to keep on uploading episodes every single week. So thank you to John, and you too can join John as a supporter of the podcast with a small donation of $10 a month. Check the link in the show notes. We have Patreon, we have Anchor. You can just do whatever you want to do, whatever's easiest for you. If you want to give less and you just want to support the podcast, I'd appreciate that too. Any little bit is appreciated. I think there's a question on the podcast where somebody asks, "What do you do other than engineering to make money?" And I say that I do podcasting and I make negative hundreds of dollars, and that's true. But I enjoy it and it's my passion, and just a little bit of encouragement financially is always nice, right? Everybody likes a little money, so appreciate you guys. All right, let's get into the podcast. We know that it is LinkedIn Lunatics, so let's just go get in on with it. So here's the screen. Not what I expected to find on my LinkedIn feed. He says, "There's a reason my wife stays, and it's not for the money. I can't believe it's Friday again. Well done. You survived. Happy weekend. Hashtag military humor. Hashtag happy Friday." Okay. So at first I thought this was like a sex thing, but maybe it's just him polishing her boots. So I put it on there because the top one looks like it's a sex thing, but the bottom one looks like it's boot. He's polishing her boots. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's not actually a sex thing. I think the reason why his wife stays is for the boot polishing abilities. So I'll say that
Not what I expected to find on my LinkedIn feed.
it was not what I expected to find on my LinkedIn feed, that's for sure. Is it lunatic? I think it's borderline. Let's say borderline. I don't I don't get it. I don't get the purpose. I think that people just run out of things to post, but they say that you have to post every single day or 3 to 5 days a week, and then you get posts like this. So I'd say it's not as inappropriate as I first thought it was, but it doesn't make sense. Not related to your career, buddy. So good on you. 5 out of 10. Next one.
So, are we supposed to fall in love with commuting now? So,
I am falling in love with traffic slowly. My work makes me drive 3 hours daily. Every morning, every evening, the same story: clutch, brake, repeat. Oh, they drive stick. Traffic is frustrating. I like my job and I love my home, so shifting either isn't an option. I used to get so mad at traffic that I got bored of getting mad. Now, during these 3 hours, I listen to podcasts, audiobooks, and interviews of people I admire. There's no stand up guy whose jokes I haven't laughed on yet. I speak to friends and relatives who I've not been able to keep in touch with, and so on and so forth. Away from home and away from work, traffic has given me my me time back. And I'm left with nothing but myself and things I love doing. Sad but true, I'm falling in love with traffic slowly. Okay, so I also commute 2.5 to 3 hours every day. My commute's usually about 45 minutes to an hour in the morning, and then an hour to an hour and a half on the way home. And I can resonate with some of the things that this person is saying. In the morning, I have a couple podcasts I listen to almost every single day, and it's podcasts that I want to listen to anyways. I enjoy listening to them. And on the way home, I actually do call my friends and relatives on my way home that I otherwise wouldn't have probably taken the time to call or talk to. I mean, it's funny. I think that I'm actually closer to I have a closer tabs on what some of my friends are doing now that I don't live in the same city as them, as I did whenever I did. That being said, now LinkedIn Lunatics has turned into a anti return to office subreddit. So a lot of people in LinkedIn Lunatics are really pro work from home. And I get it. I get why a lot of people want to be able to work from home and might be frustrated by the, I guess, consistent posts on LinkedIn about people advertising how important it is to be in the office. But as somebody that gets a lot of value of being in the office, I'm not as strongly in that camp as those people. But no, I don't love a long commute. If I could choose to have a shorter commute, I would, but I chose to live where I live because I wanted to be around the things I live around. And there were other people involved in my decision of choosing where to live. But am I going to fall in love with commuting? Am I falling in love with traffic slowly? No, I'm not. And I think that's a reach. I think it's a good post. I think it's a good post because you talk about what it's like to what you do during your commute, and that's a good thing to talk about on LinkedIn. Maybe other people are just going insane on their commute, and that's a reasonable post for LinkedIn. But am I falling in love with my commute? No. And I don't know why anybody would be falling in love with their commute. So are we supposed to fall in love with commuting now? No. The answer to that is no. All right. Here's the next one.
Wife died unexpectedly, so he posts about it on LinkedIn the next day and makes it about his career. Lunatic or not?
So we all grieve different ways. My wife passed away in her sleep last night. It was unexpected. I'm beside myself. Please remember to let the ones you love know that nothing is more important than your family. Even as much passion as I have for cybersecurity, nothing compared for the love I held for my wife. She was the one I suggested to go down this that suggested I go down the cybersecurity path and my drive to be successful. So everybody grieves in different ways. So I'm not going to judge too hard, but I mean, I don't understand why the first instinct that somebody has is to post on LinkedIn. I know that I would be destroyed, but maybe he doesn't have other social media outlets other than LinkedIn. Maybe he might be one of those people that doesn't have Facebook, so LinkedIn is his only social media network. So I find it hard to judge people. Sorry, I'm typing because I want to see if other people have ripped this off on LinkedIn. Because I know I don't think that, I mean, yeah, it's a little cringe, but I wouldn't say it's a lunatic post. I Everybody grieves differently, and I'm not going to read into it. These people in this comment section are not happy with this post, but okay, let me read it. Let me sort of search it. My wife passed away in her sleep last night. It was unexpected. I am beside myself. Please remember to let the ones you love know that. So it's just this guy's post, and so nobody's ripped it off. So shout out to the crazy influencers for not being so crazy that they would rip off a story about a person's losing his wife. But yeah, I mean, I would be really, I don't know. I'm not gonna judge people for grieving, so I'd say no, not a lunatic, maybe just a little bit grieving, and that's the only network that they have. All right. Well, that was LinkedIn Lunatics. Let's take a quick breather and go. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back, get some water, and then we'll get into the career questions. All right. Hopefully, you get an ad here. And we are back. I hope you got an ad there. If you got an ad there, that means that I have not been completely canceled by the friends at Anchor, and they are still giving me money. So hopefully you got an ad there. All right, next one.
Is it laziness or lack of ambition if you don't want to engage in hustle culture anymore? Would you consider a person lazy or unambitious if they don't want to engage in hustle culture anymore? I consider myself quite the hard worker, but after burning out, I realized that I don't want to keep hustling anymore. And by hustling, I mean working extended hours, weekends, and holidays, having no time to take a real vacation leave or sick leave, having no life outside of work. Many organizations and management kind of expect this of people, but I think can't go on living like this. Thoughts, anyone?
So I would say no, it's not laziness or lack of ambition if you don't want to engage in hustle culture. I think that we all have priorities, right? Priorities shift over our lives, and maybe at some point in time you get to a point in your career where you have a role that you like, you have a income that you like as well, and work life balance that you like, and then you're comfortable there, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't still be an advocate for yourself, but maybe not being as aggressive with your career. But no, I wouldn't say it's laziness or lack of ambition. I think that we all reach points in our career where we are very happy. A lot of people can reach that point in their career where they're just happy, and if you have found that, then, or if you can find an organization that has that, then I think that's good. I think wanting work-life balance is a very reasonable thing. And if you burned out, I hopefully that you found a new organization that you can work for that pays you commensurably and doesn't put you in a situation where you're in consistent burnout. But no, I would not say that it's laziness or lack of ambition. And here's the thing. Life is too short to live a life that feels consistently unfulfilling. Life is too short to skip out on fun things. Life is too short to make work your absolute number one priority. Your number one priority in life shouldn't be work. It should be your family, your friends, your connections, your mental health, your well being. That should be your number one priority. And it sounds like you have that as your priority. Now, those things, it's a kind of a give and take, push and pull between your work life and your personal life and how those things work. But I, I think it's perfectly normal to be content. I really do. So I just realized I didn't share the post, but yeah, no, I'd say that it's not laziness or lack of ambition if you don't want to engage in hustle culture anymore. I think that it's perfectly reasonable to want to have a good balance between your work life and your career life, and you as the person in the career are the person that kind of sets that. So, all right, next question.
Should I apply for a job if my vacation is in 2 weeks? I work a part time job and I'm looking to take a second full time job, but I have a vacation in less than 2 weeks.
I'd say yeah. I'd say yeah. You should apply for the job if your vacation is in 2 weeks. Worst case scenario, you start after your vacation day, But if they really want you, and some people, I've heard of this getting negotiated in before. I have seen employees of companies that I've been affiliated with, not mine, but other people that I've worked with, where they've hired an employee and then the first 2 weeks of their time with that company, they were on vacation. And then they started working. And then the person ended up leaving the company in like 6 weeks after being there. So maybe they just got maybe good for them. They got a couple they got an extra extended vacation and then they maybe I don't know where they work now, but yeah, no. Worst case scenario, you just start late. You tell them what your start date is, and best case, I mean, I'd be actually pretty shocked if they're able to hire you and completely onboard you in 2 weeks. But worst case scenario, you just push back your start date. But best case scenario, you get a paid vacation to start your employment there, which I don't think they'll move that quick. But either way, I'm sure that it'll work out for you. So no concerns with applying for a job if your vacation is in 2 weeks. Next question. Ooh, this is a long one. All right.
Is my direct report bullying me? I'm a leader with team onshore and offshore. One of my onshore team members was on maternity leave for a year and returned last week. She had issues getting her laptop running and I had to raise a few requests and escalate a few times. In the end, she needed a new one. Tech desk told her it can take up to 10 days to be couriered out. So I personally went to the tech desk at our building, got a laptop assigned to her and thought to ask her to pick it up the next day. I messaged her to call me, no answer. I called her, no answer. I messaged her details of the arrangements I had made and asked her to pick up the next day. She responded later to say she can't call me, but why can't the laptop be couriered out? I told her it can, but obviously will take longer. She didn't respond until 7 p.m. and said she can't come to pick it up as she is not in a position to travel to the city with her son. Still did not call me, just messaged. I told her I need to attend training the following afternoon so she can help us with a project starting next week. And I'm concerned how she can continue to WFH if she can't step out for 2 to 3 hours to set herself up to WFH. No answer. In the meantime, she had called another leader in my team, her old TL, my
Same.
manager, my previous manager in HR during the course of the afternoon. Still no call to me. Next morning, I reached out to my manager saying I'm having issues with this TM collecting her laptop, and since we can't rely on her to assist with the project. The idea to involve her in this project had come from my own manager beforehand. That's when I found out that this TM had reached out to multiple people citing stress, anxiety, and that I'm discriminating against her as she's a new mother returning to work, and since she had already arranged WFH, my sudden demand for her to collect the laptop had caused her significant amount of anxiety. My manager spoke with her personally and confirmed to me that the TM was very upset over my behavior and claiming discrimination, and also claimed it had happened in the past. Backstory: in the 2.5 years with me, she had escalated things to my previous manager twice because she wasn't happy with her pay review and end-of-year appraisal. Both times the manager had listened to her and even overturned one of my decisions, that I believe gave her the confidence to continue doing that. Also, she had some similar escalations with another one of her previous leaders who also confirmed that she would skip a level and go to higher leadership if she didn't like anything she was told or asked to do, citing lack of support, getting pressurized, etc. Now my manager is expecting me to attend a 3-way conversation next week and almost suggested an apology for not having the laptop ready for her before she was back at work. I've been very anxious and stressed about this the whole weekend. She is a very confrontational person and didn't hold back on what she wants to say. I'm almost scared that even if I'm able to get past this, I'll never be able to ask her anything or be delegate in fear of her escalating again. Which won't be fair on the rest of my team. What are my options, and am I right to feel she's bullying me?
Well, that's a lot. I'd say yeah. I'd say yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of on you guys for not getting the laptop to her, but it's kind of, I'd say that I'd be really concerned as a manager if your leadership is consistently not backing you up and consistently allowing somebody to go over your head and then overturning you without allowing you to make decisions as a manager. I'd say that also, what kind of courier takes 10 days? That sounds like something that she made up. Couriers are usually same day. You can usually overnight something like that. I don't understand why you can't overnight this. It in my company, if we need to get people technology, we overnight them from state that technology from state to state, and it gets there. So I don't understand why a courier is taking 10 days. If that's what this person told you, then they're probably lying and they're trying to extend their leave. But yeah, this person is a liability to you and your management structure. is also a liability. I can understand getting upset, but consistently having this behavior where she's not able to voice how you're making her feel to you, and anytime that she does any little thing that you don't agree with, she just, and this is a behavior that she's had with all of her managers, she just goes around her manager and complains. It's Karen like behavior, in my opinion, and that's really concerning, and it's a liability for you. So I would actually have a one-on-one with your manager, and leaving out the details, just have a conversation with your manager, just saying, "Hey, this person is consistently going around me, and this is a pattern of behavior that I've seen from them. And while there might be some legitimate issues here, where the computer, she can't step out to get her computer. At the same time, if she can't step out to get her, you make a great point. If she can't step out to get her computer, is the reason why she's working from home because she's going to spend the entire time at home taking care of her kid and not working, which I'm not saying is necessarily forbidden, but like I'm of the opinion that working from home does not mean that you become a full-time caretaker to your kids at home, especially a new baby. That requires a lot of attention. Now, if she has other arrangements where the kid is being watched, I mean, I'm sure people could do it. I'm sure people can do it, but I just working from home while being a full-time caretaker for a kid, as an employer, I would expect that there's a little bit of give and take. Like, hey, yeah, you can take care of your kid while you're working from home, but also we need you to be a little bit more flexible. And it sounds like that she's gonna take a lot from the situation and not be very flexible on her end. But maybe that's just me as somebody who's drank the corporate Kool-Aid. If I'm drinking the corporate Kool-Aid with my context and you think that's the case, let me know down in the comments or write into me and tell me how terrible I am. But like, how work has always worked, right, is that you go into work and you arrange childcare for your kids, and I don't think that being able to work from home changes that dynamic. It might be a benefit that your company provides childcare, or allows for this, maybe that's the case, but yeah, I'm kind of concerned about how productive this person is going to be. um, and her behavior with consistently going around you. She's a liability to you and your corporate culture and your management structure and your leadership structure. It's maybe your manager is just trying to avoid a discrimination lawsuit, but this woman seems like she's crying wolf a lot. So I would be kind of nervous around her, as you are nervous. And they said your leadership sucks. Start looking for a new job. This lady has salted the earth as far as your upper management against you. They've already had a history of overturning your decisions in your subordinates' favor, and now they want you to apologize. They're more afraid of discrimination suit than losing you. As others said, take the high road, be polite, document everything, and hopefully you can fire her before long. She's a crap employee from the sound of it, assuming you weren't actually discriminating or anything. Well, I would have escalated this to my manager when you got the laptop sorted, since she has a history, but I'm also unsure why it takes 10 days to courier a laptop that's ready now in the same city. You could FedEx it overnight or pay a courier to deliver it same day. That said, she's not bullying you, but she's manipulating you, doesn't have the childcare, and is trying to extend her leave. So now you beat her at her own game and figure out how to get the laptop there quicker. Yeah. I don't get the comments here. She's not calling her own manager at all, responding extremely late to her manager's messages, going directly above and act like they're doing this on purpose. She's 100% trying to get some power play and doesn't respect you as her manager. She's a nuisance. Yeah, that's kind of where I feel. So yeah. But if y'all disagree with me, make sure to let me know down in the comments. All right. Next question.
Is it possible to get into top university with poor academics? I had a friend who used to explain and taught me science related stuffs, in an amazing way. Even after not doing well in academics till 12th grade, I always asked him to get into some top uni where he could discover his own passion. but his academic is bad.
Yeah, it's not. It's not possible unless your friend is really, really wealthy and has a family member that can make a donation large enough to get their last name on a building. I'd say no, they can't get into a top university with poor academics immediately. However, if they wanted to go to whatever your version of a community college is and get an associate's degree or just start getting school and have great academics there and then apply for said top university or other, decent universities, then yeah, maybe it is possible, but no, it is not possible to get into a top university with poor academics prior unless you have the guy who got people in under fake sports scholarships in your corner or the amount of money that you can donate enough to put your name on a building. So the answer is no. It is not possible to get into a top university with poor academics. At least I don't think so. If you disagree, let me know down in the comments. Also, if you do agree that you like the robot voice thing that I'm doing, let me know. It kind of gives me a little bit of a breather between questions to take a sip of water, so I like it. But let me know if you hate it. Let me know if you hate the robot voice thing. Next question.
Anyone commute 70 plus miles to work? I was offered an engineering job with good pay, $100,000, enough to live comfortably and independently, pay bills, etc., at least for my situation. Problem is that it's a 75-mile drive. Just for reference, my current job is 5 miles away and it's a 30-minute drive because of traffic. You can imagine how bad a 75-mile drive will be. Probably 2 to 3 hours, 4 to 6 hours round trip. I would pretty much have no life besides driving to work and working. I guess my goal would be to move in closer, but it's easier said than done. I was planning to make the commute for 2 months, then just move in closer, literally anywhere, once I had the first few paychecks. Can anyone share their experiences with this? Especially if you had a job far away and just winged it and decided to move closer, having no friends/relatives in the new city that could help. Asking for advice because I've never done something like this before, not sure how feasible it would be to say, hey, I'm a work 2 months and just move after I get paid. If life were only that simple.
Yeah, so I don't do this. I commute 35 miles for work round trip. So I spend about half this amount of time in the road, 2 to 3 hours. But I do have coworkers that commute from Baton Rouge, and they have 2.5, 3 hour commutes. And the money makes it worth it for them. And the fact that they can, in my industry, I work in construction. So a lot of people are choosing between making less money and sleeping in their own bed or making more money and sleeping in a trailer park or a small apartment in a random city and then moving and doing it all over again. So a lot of these people, they are commuting for an extra hour each day because it means they get to sleep in their own bed. I'd say in your situation, it's perfectly feasible for you to start doing it this way. Start with this 70 plus mile commute with the full intention of moving. I think that's perfectly reasonable. If you do it long term, it will burn you out. I wouldn't recommend doing it long term, but for those 2 months that you said, yes, I think it is perfectly reasonable. A lot of people in this comment section, maybe they just don't work. They all disagree with me, but as somebody that works in construction, I have a lot of coworkers that do this, and I'd say, yeah, they're able to do it, and they work really long hours. And yes, you're right. All you will be doing for that 2 months or whatever not is driving and working. But maybe you can make sure that you enjoy your time on the weekends and then eventually move. And as somebody who has moved for work, I would say that it's perfectly possible to move and make new friends. My wife has done a lot of the heavy lifting, did a lot of the initial heavy lifting of finding us friends. But if you're a friendly person and you take the time to go do things that interest you, where other people are also doing those same things, you will find friends. You will make new friends and you'll be very happy that you took this next step in your life. I assume that this is for a big promotion and a big raise. So I would say go for it and take your maybe not give yourself 2 months to find a new job, but find a new house, but immediately start looking while you're there and find a place and move. But yeah, go ahead and start if it's a great job opportunity, yeah, go for it. If you're willing to move to a new city, go for it. But I would do it with the full intentions of eventually moving. And then you can treat it like, hey, I have this long commute, but it's only for now. It's only for now. This is not my life forever. And eventually I'm going to move to the city. And you're only 70 miles away from your friends and family. So you're 2 or 3 hours. That's a weekend trip. So you can still you'll make new friends in your city, but you'll also be able to keep in touch with your old friends. You can do day trips and see them on the weekends. So, yes, I'd say go for it. I wouldn't commute this long term, but I'd say in this instance, go for it. Next question.
Just got terminated. What to do in this situation? I just got terminated from my company. I was planning on leaving and was actively interviewing at a new place though nobody knew. I spoke with that potential company this morning, when I was still employed, and it was green lights from them and green lights from me. A final round of interviews which could go well or not, so no guarantee. I'm not sure, and probably not thinking too clearly ATM, what I should tell them. Do I proactively tell them I'm no longer employed and hope that doesn't kill things for me? Wait until the next round of conversations, and if things look like they will get to an offer, tell them? Not sure what to do.
Don't tell them at all is what I would do. I'd say don't tell them at all. They don't need to know that it's pretty common protocol for people not to call your former employer anyways, your current employer anyways. So even on your resume, I'd leave it as employed to present day, and good luck to you. Negotiate as the best you can. Because honestly, if they find out, then they'll probably they're more like, not that they will lowball you, but they're more likely to lowball you and less likely to be as flexible whenever you try to negotiate with them on salary and benefits. So I would say no, don't tell them. Keep a good positive relationship with them in your negotiation with them. You can kind of read the room on that, use your negotiation skills, and then if you like working there and you like the offer, go ahead and accept the job and work there. So, no, in this situation, I would not tell them that you are not currently employed because that gives them a little bit more leverage that you don't need to give them. Next question.
Boss found out I'm job hunting. How to walk back. One of my coworkers let slip I'm job hunting and it got back to my boss and the higher ups. Had a very awkward meeting where I walked it back. Now she wants me to tell more people, including the higher ups, I'm not going anywhere and basically squash the rumor. Anyone have any advice what to say or do? I have always been passively hunting as it's healthy, but recently things have gotten rough at work and I complained at a friendly dinner it might be worth looking around more or making a career change. One of them snitched, obviously, I just don't know who.
Yeah, so it sounds like these people are not your friends. Not all your coworkers are your friends, and you're learning that. I'm sorry about that, that they snitched on you. But yeah, I mean, you can say whatever you want to say to this boss. I mean, honestly, you can walk back all you want. It's kind of weird the way that they're reacting so weirdly to it, because I'm sure that your boss, unless they are so far down drinking the corporate Kool-Aid of where you're working, they're probably also passively looking too. I mean, I think every person has a LinkedIn profile and gets notified of potential job opportunities. I mean, I do. I mean, I'm not passively looking. I like my job, and I'm not trying to actively find a new source of employment, but I think every single person at least looks at the market and just sees what the opportunities are and what different things are happening around them. So I think that's a very reasonable and healthy thing to do on your part. So very weird on your boss's part to react so strongly to it. But yeah, I would say that no, don't get too comfortable with your coworkers unless you actually are friends with them. Again, they are just your coworkers. So don't, don't. Yeah, this person has a good bit of advice. They say,
Never get comfortable with your coworkers where you would say something you wouldn't say around any other person.
yeah, if you wouldn't say it in the office at work, maybe be careful about what you say around your coworkers. People, it's kind of weird that they kind of sold you out like that because you say that you've had this relationship with this group of people for 6 years, but I mean, I'm sorry that this happened to you, but I mean, you can walk it back, but also, I mean, yeah, I'd say if you have a good enough relationship with your boss, like, hey, dude, I mean, like, every single person, your boss should have a mentality that they always want the best for their people, and regardless of whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's a sucky rumor. Fine, walk it back. I mean, what's the worst case scenario? You walk it back, and then you get a great job offer somewhere else, and then you leave, and then you don't have to deal with these people anymore. I mean, come on. I would say that just you can do whatever you want. It doesn't really make a difference. And then just keep on looking. But yeah, that's annoying. Next one. Do you have a secondary source of income? If so, what is it?
Do you have a secondary source of income? If so, what is it? While I was in school, I fixed arcade games for a local chain of barcades. Now that I'm full time, I'm entertaining the thought of doing something similar on weekends. Who else works on the side and what kind of work do you do?
I have my podcast, and for a bit of time, I did. I would go golf caddying because that was I was a four caddy, and I was wanting to stay in shape, and four caddies get a lot of time to run. And the other side perk is I got free rounds of golf and some money, and I got to network. So I did that for a little while, but I guess my podcast is the only secondary source of income that I have, and currently it's negative hundreds of dollars. So I'm doing pretty good with my income on this side hustle. But yeah, that's mine. And if you want to do that, I think you should do it. I think that as an engineer, though, unless you have some other personal circumstances, you're probably not in a situation where you need the money. So if you are wanting secondary sources of income, I would just advise that it's something that you are interested in and passionate about and get personal enjoyment from, not just a thing that you do to make money. And that will help you minimize burnout and also help minimize the chances that your employer is frustrated by that. Because for me, caddying and going and hanging out with people on a golf course was just a hobby. And for me, doing my podcast is really just a hobby, and the fact that there's money associated with it, it's a benefit, but it doesn't affect my current employment, doesn't affect my job. I definitely don't caddy anymore. I don't have time for it, and I barely podcast. If you know, and as you know that, as you listen to this podcast, you know that I've been going for over a year, and I'm only on episode 34, so it's not that regular, and it never will interfere with my work. But yeah, that's what I do for my quote unquote secondary source of income, and it's netting me negative hundreds of dollars. So if you have a secondary source of income as an engineer, fill it down in the comments. I'm not the CIA or the FBI work investigating you for your company, but it'd be pretty cool to hear what other people do for their passion projects that also make them money. Next question.
Any tips for a burned out sophomore? Man, I'm a sophomore in mechanical engineering and I'm feeling so conflicted about it. I only chose this degree because I figured it would make me money and I'm decent at STEM classes, but I'm so tired of all the hard work and can't stand the classes anymore. This quarter's been really rough on my mental health and I'm really demotivated, but then again, the money. I'm thinking of taking a quarter off or maybe just part-time classes to figure things out and maybe get inspired, but I'm scared I won't want to go back. Has anyone else been through something like this? Any advice? I feel like I need some direction.
So I didn't go through this situation, but I know people that did, and what they did was is they went and took less credit hours. And I think that that's what you should do is you should lower your course load and plan to graduate later. And if it means you take like a part-time job to help pay for the extra costs that are associated with graduating later, then maybe you do that as well, and it'll kind of give you a mindless break. Or maybe even if you got an internship that kind of helped you fire up your interest in engineering, that you could work and then lower your course load, or any job like as a drafter or something like that, where you can do that and kind of also advance your skills but also pursue your degree at the same time. But yeah, I think that I wouldn't take a whole semester off, because yeah, it would be, I think you might not come back. There's a chance, I think there's a much higher chance of you not coming back if you take a whole semester off, because it's just going to be harder for you to get in that academic flow again. But I'd say yeah, go for it. Lower your course load. Maybe go down to part-time, take 3 4 classes instead of 5 6 in a lab. And I think that you'll find, hopefully, that since you're good at STEM, you have a passion for STEM and you like engineering, and you want to make the money that an engineer does and have the versatility in your career that you get once you've had an engineering degree. I think you should still stick with it. You're a sophomore. You just finished your first semester of sophomore year, so you probably made it through most of the weed out classes at this point. So stick with it. I think it's perfectly reasonable to cull back your hours, perfectly reasonable to take less classes. Definitely do that. And I think you'll be fine. But yeah, an extra year or two is a drop in the bucket whenever it comes to the length of your life. And a lot of people are non traditional students and didn't start right out of I assume that you started right out of high school because you went full time. But there's a lot of non-traditional students out there that wish they had started as soon as you did. So I would say take a little extra time, but don't stop. All right. I wish you the best of luck. Next and last question.
Where can I find companies that do 4-day work weeks and remote, North American ones?
I'd say it's going to be difficult for you to do that, especially if you don't have a career field or a type of job or industry that you're asking about. It's pretty vague, and everybody wants one of those. So I don't think that you can just say, I want a job that works 4-day work weeks and remote. Most of those companies, they're offering it as a benefit to attract a specific kind of talent. And I'm not saying that you don't have talent, but you have not shared what your talents are in this post. So what I'd do is if you have certain skills, then I would start looking related to those skills and see if there's companies in that industry. But if you want just a generic job, I think technical services companies in the US are doing work from home call center jobs. Fidelity work from home call center. Yeah, so Fidelity has customer service representatives. I don't know if you can. I think a lot of the technical services companies do have work from home situations, but I don't know if they're 4-day work weeks. But here you go. Here's an example. This I would look into financial fidelity and also work from home jobs online. I would just start searching on Indeed and see what you can find. But yeah, it's gonna be difficult for you to find one just ambiguously. Just if you're just looking for a job, but if you're looking for a specific kind of job, it will be easier for you. And look, just I think that Fidelity, look at them. They promoted themselves under this post, and then I mindlessly immediately thought of them. So that's successful advertising on their part. But this podcast is not sponsored by Fidelity. All right, but yeah, that's my gist. Uh, and that's the podcast. Thank you guys for listening to the Engineering Success Podcast and spending another hour hanging out with me. I appreciate you guys. I really appreciate the support. I will work on, I already have questions lined up for the next episode, so hopefully it won't be too long from now that I get that out. I'm going to try to go every other week, but wish me luck as I move my studio and get it into a new space. But thank you for listening to the podcast. My name is Daniel. This has been the Engineering Success Podcast. Make sure to give me 5 stars on your favorite podcast platform. If you give me a nice review, I will read it. And oh, that reminds me, I have some 5-star reviews to read. Engineering Success Podcast. That reminds me, I have reviews to read. Very exciting. Very exciting. Let's read the reviews. Kelsey says, Hidden Gem. Engineering Success is truthfully one of my favorite podcasts. Daniel answers a lot of questions I have as a woman in engineering. I really appreciate his segments and how he integrates social media. I always find that the most engineering podcasts are stuffy or out of touch. Here, I like hearing from my generation. Thanks, Kelsey. I feel like I found a hidden gem. Next question. Next review. Groundbreaking podcast for the engineering community. Daniel's podcast is the only engineering podcast I would ever even consider listening to. His voice is engaging, and I love the way each episode flows perfectly. Oh. Overall, would recommend to anyone in or outside the engineering community. And here we go. Best podcast for young engineers. Daniel brings up engineering, interesting topics, offers helpful information for both engineering students and working professionals, and is great to listen to. Love this podcast. 5 stars. Well, thank you guys for your 5 star reviews. I really appreciate it. And if you guys join Kelsey, K Goldway, and ERB Tucker by giving me a 5 star review, I will make sure to read it on the podcast. And then I will post it on the Hall of Fame of engineeringsuccess.com. I will post it on the main page, all my 5 star reviews. You will end up on the bottom of my website. So thank you for those 5 star review guys. Anybody else leaves one, I will make sure to read it on the podcast. But on that good note, this has been the Engineering Success Podcast. Make sure to share it with your friends. I'm Daniel, and I'll catch you in the next one.
I miscommunicating. I just made a pilot, then they threw me on the stations. Nah, I'm not complaining. My thoughts get complicated. I cannot explain in lameness. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries. Thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify. They put me on the station.